"Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." It's very ironic that Jesus calls Christians who are being persecuted as blessed. Good morning, everyone. Kamusta po kayo? Ma-beauty? Thank you very much for the warm welcome. We've been here a while ago at the first service, and it's a privilege to be with you all at this time. When we were singing the last song, "The Cause of Christ," I felt it was a death song. Especially the line that for your cause I die. I felt that we were at a military headquarters, ready to battle anytime. When we go out of this headquarters, we are all soldiers ready to die for the cause of Christ. And so that made me reflect: am I really ready to die for the cause of Christ? Am I really ready to leave behind those things and even those people I hold dear? Especially now, I have a 2-year-old toddler I hold very much dear to my heart. Am I willing to leave her or even give her up, surrender her to God in that level and context for His cause? That's such a heavy introduction. I'm very sorry. Good morning, everyone, and a blessed day. My name is BJ, and I come from the Ministry of Open Doors. We are a ministry serving persecuted Christians worldwide, and we have been in ministry since 1955. So that's more than 6 decades already, and it's my 11th year in the ministry. I hope you're all doing well in your families, at home, and in your ministries. And we are seeing an end to the pandemic, hopefully very, very soon. That's why we can only be thankful that God has been sustaining us and showing His faithfulness and goodness, especially in the past years. It is a privilege to be part of your Beatitude series this month as we end today. I hope that you are learning so much from the past Sundays, and I hope that you still have room in your hearts to learn new things from the Lord in this last part of His sermon in the book of Matthew. But before we go into the details of our scripture verse, I'd like to show you a short video about our ministry at Open Doors. Some of you might be encountering us for the first time, and so may this video give you a background of where I am coming from. And for those who are already familiar, may this video refresh you and encourage you what God is doing in His suffering church through the ministry.
This is the book. This is the book God used to bring me to the faith. We in Open Doors are totally dedicated to getting the Word of God into the country, in their language, and then let God speak.
China, an exciting country, the biggest nation in the world. The request came for Bibles, and we brought them in by the thousands, tens of thousands. Then they said, "Give us 1 million.
Give us 1 million.
We just did it in obedience to God's commission. It was so big and bold, that endeavor. We did it in one night, but we did it in Jesus' name.
only just begun.
Brother Andrew, about 90 years old, and he's a Dutch. He's still living in the Netherlands. And we started by God using him to smuggle Bibles in the European borders, countries in Eastern Europe who were then under communism. And when he was there, he was just a very young Christian. The Lord showed him the situation of the church in that part of the world at that time. Persecuted, restricted because of the communist rule. They are not allowed to have Bibles. Now imagine a church without Bibles. They're not allowed to gather like this. That's why they would usually gather at night and sneaking out, paisa-isa, slowly, just to have this fellowship together. And the first thing that the Lord told him to do through Revelation 3 verse 2 of strengthening the persecuted church is to smuggle Bibles into this countries. Even though the Bible was then considered illegal, even dangerous, but we believe that the source of hope and strength of a believer, especially in times like persecution, is the Word of God. So imagine if a Christian is undergoing that troubles and hardships without a copy of the Bible. That Christian will really, really be very weak. That's why we, through Brother Andrew, gave in Bibles to the persecuted church. And when in all his smuggling trips, in the autobiography book God Smuggler, it's in the booth, you can see and buy later if you want. Every time he would be faced with the immigration guards, the border guards, to check his car, to check his Volkswagen and his luggages, and there it was hidden there, the Bibles, somewhere in his luggage and in the car. And every time he would pray, Lord, he had this naughty prayer, Lord, when you were here on earth, you made blind eyes see. This time, please make seeing eyes blind. And his testimony, not one Bible was confiscated in all of his smuggling trips, giving this as gifts to the persecuted church. Until now, that's one of the ways we try to strengthen the persecuted church, to give through giving of the Word of God. Let's go to our text in Matthew 5, verse 10. It says there, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." It's very ironic that Jesus calls Christians who are being persecuted as blessed. But that's a comfort for those of us who have this experience or who had this experience or who are having this experience. That it is through from Jesus himself, that if you are experiencing persecution or in trouble because of doing what is right, you are blessed, my brother, my sister, my friend. That's an affirmation and that's a commendation directly from God. You are blessed. Another key word or phrase for me here is, "For theirs is the kingdom of heaven." In other translations, it says it will be included in God's kingdom or is closer to God's kingdom. Now, that's an encouragement for persecuted Christians that even though they are in such hardships, they're actually even closer to God's kingdom. Even closer than us who are living in our comfortable and free lives in our Christian walk. So in other words, if we want blessings to come in our lives, Jesus tells us not to avoid persecution. It's not telling us that we should put ourselves in unnecessary persecuted situations, but Jesus here is telling us that if we are experiencing that, or if there's a chance for us to experience that, we should not be afraid to experience it, because that's an opportunity, a good opportunity. So for those of us who may be at the crossroads this morning, facing some confusing options, or afraid of possible consequences, or maybe you find it hard what to do or decide in a specific situation, may this verse speak to you to do and decide what is right, no matter what the result, for we are blessed if we do what is right, regardless of the consequences. The following verses in 11 and 12 continue to emphasize what verse 10 is telling us. It says there, "Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." So from these verses, Jesus not only repeat the word blessed yet again in the same context of persecution, but he even tells us to rejoice and be glad. Wow. Imagine in prison, or someone you love died, or for example, your church has been ransacked all because of persecution. And then Jesus tells us to, instead of crying, instead of grieving, instead of being angry or being sad, actually rejoice and be glad. Why? Because in doing so, great is your reward in heaven. Normally, our reaction to such circumstances is to be sad, to be angry, to complain, or maybe some of us would think of getting even or taking revenge. But Jesus tells us otherwise. To be happy or to cheer, as one Bible translation says, when we are being persecuted. Why? This verse says, because when persecuted Christians experience this, or when a Christian experiences persecution, they will receive what? A reward. So not only are we called blessed when we are persecuted for His name, but there is a reward waiting for us. And there's nothing wrong if we expect that reward, because Jesus Himself promised that reward for us if we get persecuted because of doing what is right or for His name. And it's not only a simple, ordinary reward, but Jesus took His time to describe it as a great one, a grand one, maybe, in other translations. So it's already exciting to know that we will get a reward, and it's even more encouraging that we know that reward is not only a simple, ordinary one, but a great one, a grand one. So no wonder the persecuted church is a blessed church. They are not a church who should be looked down, but to be respected because of their testimony for Jesus. What does it mean to be persecuted? For us at Open Doors, as a ministry for the persecuted church, we defined it as someone who suffers or experiences hostilities or troubles or danger because of his or her identification with the Lord Jesus. So that can be a Christian who just converted from their family or country's traditional religion, like for example Islam or Buddhism, and because of that, the family is threatening to disown him or take his inheritance away if he does not deny Jesus. Or that can be a pastor who was arrested for distributing gospel tracts in a community. Or that can be a believer who was killed by an angry mob because of going to church. But then again, Jesus calls them blessed. What does the word blessed really mean? Let's look closer. One synonym or definition from a dictionary is the word venerated, which means respected, admired, or honored. So applying it to our lesson today, we can say that Jesus is full of respect, is full of admiration, and full of honor for a believer or for His child who is persecuted for His name. And if Jesus sees a persecuted believer this way, so should we, fellow brothers and sisters. They should be the speakers we should be inviting in our services to inspire us to stand up for Jesus no matter what the cost. What a respectable, admirable, and honorable way to show our love for God. No wonder Jesus calls them blessed. And maybe that song, Cause of Christ, is a theme song for them every day. For them who face different kinds and levels and forms of persecution every single day. Another word for the word blessed is the word beatific or beatific, which means to make happy, to smile, to have a blissful appearance, or the word good, which tells us that to be persecuted is actually a good thing. Very ironic again, but from Jesus. Again, not that we invite or put ourselves intentionally to be persecuted, but what Jesus is telling us is not actually that to be persecuted is not a bad thing, but otherwise. No wonder God wants us to rejoice and be glad when we are in such circumstances, because it's a good thing to experience. It's a painful thing to experience, definitely, but in the standards of eternity, for our God, it's a good thing. This is also where the word Beatitudes come from, your series for this month, ending today. Which means that these situations from the verses in the previous verses, and from the verses of this Sermon on the Mount, they are all good situations or characters to be in or to do. What and who are those again? The poor in spirit, those who mourn, the humble, those hungry and thirsty for righteousness, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers, and today, the persecuted. For the world, this may be things that are hard to do, or hard to be, or hard to understand. It's not even our natural tendencies to do something like this, or to be in this kind of situation. But Jesus tells us that these are good things to be in, or to do. And when we do so, we are blessed and we are closer to His kingdom. So do you want to be persecuted? No one wants to be persecuted. But Jesus tells us this morning that if He allows us to be persecuted, take comfort, take joy, because for Him, for the kingdom of heaven, we are blessed. In Open Doors, we have what we call the World Watch List. It's our list of the top 50 countries where Christians are most persecuted. And you might be familiar with some of the shaded countries in the map. And this year, this is the complete list of the countries. So you can see there, China's at number 17, Indonesia at number 28, Mexico at number 43, and so on. In these 50 countries alone, we estimate there are at least 360 million persecuted Christians today. I've been in the ministry for more than a decade, and when I was starting to do this, being involved, our research would just say 100 million, then it became 200 million, became 240, 260, 300, 340, and now it's 360 million, at least an estimate. These are just the ones who get reported, or the ones we are in contact with. What does that mean? That means more and more Christians, countries, areas, places in the world are experiencing persecution. And if we will study the end times, same book in the book of Matthew, persecution is one of the signs of the end times. And it will not even decrease. From the statistics, it's actually already increasing and intensifying. There's even one research that says if the trends continue, those countries who are living in religious freedom now may also enter religious persecution. That includes the West, US, Canada. That includes the continent of Europe. That includes the Philippines. God forbid that He turns the table around. That we get persecuted, and then those we are praying for now They will be the ones who will be praying for us. Nevertheless, we'll all be singing the cause of Christ together. Let's watch this next video about the countries who made it in this year's top 10.
There are countries where Christians live in fear, where churches are bombed and houses burned, where following Jesus means sacrificing jobs, security, family. There are countries where you must keep your faith secret, or it might get you killed. These are the countries of the Open Doors World Watch list, and here are the 10 countries where following Jesus costs the most. Number 10, India. Many extremists claim that to be Indian is to be Hindu. They want an India without religious minorities, and they are using violence to achieve it. Number 9, Iran. Iranian Christians must meet secretly. Being discovered could mean long sentences in appalling prisons. Number 8, Pakistan. Christians in Pakistan are considered second-class citizens. Innocent believers are falsely accused of blasphemy. Thousands of women are victims of kidnap and forced conversion. Number 7, Nigeria. Nigeria is the country where Christians face the most outright violence. Many Christians have been killed or driven from their homes. Number 6, Eritrea. More than 1,000 Christians are imprisoned for their faith in Eritrea. Some pastors have been locked up for over a decade without charge. Number 5, Yemen. Yemeni culture is tribal. Those who leave the tribal faith could be banished or even killed. Number 4, Libya. In this lawless land, Libyan Christians have to keep their faith secret or risk punishment, arrest, or death. Number 3, Somalia. Islamist extremists consider Somali Christians high-value targets, so the tiny population of only a few hundred secret believers keep out of sight. Number 2, North Korea. There are around 400,000 Christians in North Korea. All of them must hide their faith. Discovery means exile, execution, or being worked to death in horrific labor camps. Number 1, Afghanistan. The Taliban takeover means that Afghanistan is the new number 1, the most dangerous place in the world to be a Christian. Many Christians have become refugees. Those who remain must keep their faith utterly secret. There are countries where Christians live in fear, but fear can lead to courage, and courage leads to hope. At least 360 million Christians around the world experience high levels of persecution and discrimination. But they have not given up. And for over 65 years, Open Doors has stood with them. Where Christians are persecuted, our global underground networks supply smuggled Bibles and Christian books, spiritual care, emergency food and aid, training and legal advice. Where Christians are free, we work with local churches to raise our voices in prayer, to speak truth to those in power, to strengthen our persecuted family around the world. Because there are countries where Christians have to stay silent, and there are countries where Christians can make a noise. But we are all connected. We are all family, and together we can help one another to follow Jesus, no matter the cost.
This September up to November, we have a campaign for the persecuted church in the Middle East, particularly in Iraq and in Syria. What are their situations now? For Iraq, number 14 in the list, only 160,000 Christians remain from millions, or that's less than 1% of the population, because of the ISIS attacks in previous years and continuous conflicts. Now imagine the shrinking population of Christianity because of persecution. Christians continue to face discrimination from their authorities. And Christians who are former Muslims continue to experience pressure and threats from their own family and community, forcing them to keep their faith secret. So it's not that they are ashamed of Jesus, but their complicated and dangerous situation forced them to express their faith discreetly so they can also testify creatively. For Syria, number 15 in the World Watch List, in areas where Islamic extremist groups are active, any public expression of faith is dangerous. Church leaders are frequently abducted and church buildings completely destroyed. And every Christian in Syria knows that Islamic extremists have not really left Syria. Their silence means they're just preparing their next attack. This is what happened in 2014 when ISIS surprisingly attacked them. They just woke up one morning, the ISIS fighters are on their streets claiming their land. And that has brought years of displacement, of fear, of religious persecution, of murders of Christians. So now that they are gone in this part of the world, they're not really, the Christians there are not really free or happy about it, because with the nature of this particular extremist group, they might just be preparing, waiting for funding maybe, and preparing for the next attack. That's why they really need our prayers. For us Christians living here in a country like the Philippines where we are enjoying religious freedom, what should we do for them? They ask us to pray for them. This is their number one request from us, their free brothers and sisters, to pray for them and to pray with them. Pray that they will be strong in the faith, to withstand persecution in the power of the Holy Spirit. Pray that they will not give in no matter how hard the situation is. Pray that they will continue to testify even when it's painful to do so. Pray that God will continue to teach them forgiveness, even forgiving their persecutors. And pray that their persecutors, who may be their spouses or their relatives, their neighbors or their government, will also come to know Jesus as their Lord and Savior. You may have seen our booth outside, and I brought here copies of our magazines and prayer calendar. If the Lord is touching your heart to be a prayer partner of the ministry for the Persecuted Church, get a copy, it's for free. Or if you want us to send you every quarter or regularly every month, we have a response form that you can fill up there so we can send you and include you in our prayer community for the Persecuted Church. Particularly for the Middle East, for our Middle East campaign, we launched the 1 Million Prayers of Hope for the Middle East. And this is an initiative, a visual initiative to show that Christians all around the world are praying for the Persecuted Church in the Middle East. I invite you to be part of it. Sign up in our website, www.opendoors.ph, and let's light up the Philippines in that map to show the world that the Christians in the Philippines are praying for Christians in the persecuted world. Another way to be of help for them is by supporting them financially. We are a ministry that is non-profit, so everything that we do for the Persecuted Church, the Bibles, the trainings, the emergency relief that we give them, is because of the Lord through generous donations around the world, including the Philippines. So if the Lord is touching your heart to give, the magazine will also be helpful information for you, and so are these. Specifically, we're raising funds for vital food and clothing and medical and counseling support for Middle Eastern persecuted Christians. And lastly, help us to share about the Persecuted Church to your network, to your friends, so that they too will know and pray for the Persecuted Church. On social media, we are at Open Doors PH. Lastly, I'd like to leave you with these 3 points as lessons from our verses today. That because we are blessed when we are persecuted or experiencing persecution, let's take courage to testify for Jesus. Let's take comfort when rejected for Jesus. And let's remember those who are severely persecuted for Jesus. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.